All right, guys, are we back? How is the sound and video quality? I'm just gonna wait for like a minute or two, just not even a minute, but just like 30 seconds or so, just so people can come over here, and then we'll just keep going for a little bit. So first of all, I'm sorry for the question for those who asked questions and it sort of disappeared in the chat. Okay. And if anyone can help, like the people from the old, I really don't know very clearly what I'm doing, with any of this. And if anyone can help, anyone who might not know where this is, just help them get over here so they can get the information too. That would be great, because I don't want to negatively impact anyone who wanted to hear some of the answers or who asked a question. All right, so we're gonna go for another 50 minutes on this stream, and hopefully things will run smoothly here, so we'll have no issues. All right. Just give me 1 second. Just getting my stuff back in order. Okay. All right, so let's start with the first question again. Will you be adding any CGC cards to your collections? What are your thoughts about the new grader in the market with PSA taking almost a year for returns? They're taking almost a year? I didn't hear that they were taking almost a year. That would be really insane. I've heard that they're really quick. So, honestly, I don't really follow CGC that closely. Definitely a fan of Charlie, who's like the Pokemon expert over there that we interviewed on the channel. He's super knowledgeable. Was very nice to me in our interactions. So I have nothing but nice things to say about him. I think that he is bringing a lot of expertise and insight over there into the Pokemon market. I think what they hopefully add is that they're actually going to pick up on errors or certain things that the other companies won't add. But in terms of like value and stuff, I think like we did like a PSA. Well, PSA, will they always be king type video, which I think we talked about, covered a lot of that. If you want to go back and look at that one, I would not grade with CGC. I think particularly for anything that's very like high end or that you want to hold for a long time and really invest in, because I think that there's a risk of how it's going to be seen in a number of years, and I don't really know how it's going to do over time. It might do very well. It might hold its value. It might be a very similar value to PSA. It might be under PSA. It might even be under BGS. So, but I hear people saying like, some people really don't like CGC. They don't like the cases. Yeah, it's a subjective thing. I think definitely some people don't like the cases. Some people do like them. I think that I certainly get why people don't like them. I also kind of get why people do like them. Interestingly, I think that they're kind of people seem to have strong opinions one way or the other. That's how most people seem to be these days, anyway, with most things. Yeah, so I mean, one nice good thing that Mark added here, which is true, is that they, CGC is not, they have a big brand, right, and great comic books and coins and other sorts of things in their larger brand. Okay. So people having a little bit of a conversation about it. Oh, right. Ninja's reminding me that because I have a terrible memory sometimes, guys, particularly when I'm tired, that I was in the middle of answering, I think, his question about Yu-Gi-Oh. So, so, yeah. So you were asking about like the rest of the Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Definitely not an expert in Yu-Gi-Oh. I like Yu-Gi-Oh. I love the cartoons. I my turnoff from Yu-Gi-Oh. So I looked into buying some of like the original, the original few sets, sort of getting like the first edition printing of my favorite characters, basically, or favorite cards. So I thought about doing that, but then I saw that they reprinted them with the exact same art so many times in much cheaper versions that it just turned me off from it, honestly. So what I just did was I bought like the really cheap versions, and I just have them in a binder. And for me, I didn't collect the cards, so I don't really feel like I need to have to pay a lot of money for like first edition, LOB, like original set cards. So that is sort of my feeling on that. Okay. But again, I don't really know. I know Yu-Gi-Oh's gone up huge. I talked to some Yu-Gi-Oh fans. They tell me they have a lot of shill bidding, a lot of people putting really huge prices, asking huge things, trying to push the market up. I think a lot of the same things that have happened in Pokemon are also happening in Yu-Gi-Oh right now, and they have a lot of the same kind of concerns. So Pokemon Hollow asks, I got a question. I got a Plasma Freeze booster pack and they don't have the silver inlay. I opened one and pulled a holo. It had a code card and all cards are real. So are you asking me like what's going on? So I've never opened Plasma Freeze. So I don't know what the inside of that pack should look like. Definitely my area of like definite not expertise in this hobby is like very specific things about like booster packs or how to tell if like one is real or not, or booster boxes. The information that I get is basically from people who have been doing it a lot longer than me. Some of my friends in the hobby, and then also like public videos like TCA Gaming's videos. You actually Pokemon Hollow, you have a good channel. I've and have a lot of like information because you like opening up. You take your time and look at those sorts of things. I think I remember you from the beginning of my channel correcting me on something that I misspoke on in one of my videos as well. So you probably have more insight onto that than I would. So. Yeah, so my real focus generally is on the PSA cards, and my understanding of all the other products is very much so that I can better understand the PSA cards and the ungraded cards, and I really am just generally parroting like what I hear TCA game people like Rusty say when I answer those types of questions. So when I get a question like that, or I get things that I don't firsthand have experience with, I generally just say, go to TCA Games channel, ask Rusty directly. Rusty is so nice. Like he'll answer questions. He'll talk to you. He's got a lot more, specific experience and things like that. So Kenfist says CGC was banned from E4. Yeah, I saw that post. That was pretty funny. That was pretty interesting. I don't know if funny is the right word, but yeah, funny's not the right word. It's pretty interesting, and yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of like staying out of that. All right. Robert Alicia, love your channel. I shouted you out on Instagram. Question, how long would you wait to pull a trigger on a card you like from a new set? My example is Alistair Trainer card in Vivid Voltage. Well, thanks for shouting it out, and I'm glad you have gotten value from the channel and you enjoy it. Thank you for being here and supporting us. I really do appreciate it. So, Alistair Trainer card. So how long would you wait to pull... Oh, okay. Huh. So, I honestly don't know right now, Robert. Like, I would have had a good answer for you a while ago because I think the flow was a little bit different. Now things are so unpredictable. In the past, it would be sort of like it depends on playability and these sorts of things, but it would be something like, and this is not my expertise, but because I didn't really deal like in flipping modern and trying to make the most money on it, but like my memory is the pattern and Rafi would actually know this better than me, interestingly, my memory is that a set comes out, basically there's a lot of hype, particularly if you're buying like PSA cards, like the first one's graded, the first to market tend to be really high, and this is sort of a modern market. Then 3 months in or so, the prices kind of seem to calm down, level out. 3 months to 8 months or 3 months to 6 months, might be a good window to buy type of thing generally because, but it's really going to depend on the card and the popularity of the set. This is probably for your like not the most popular sets. Because what will happen is like you want to buy it in the window before maybe it really goes out of print. People can't buy them at retail anymore. The market isn't flooded with them. That's when you want to buy, but you want to buy far enough into it that people aren't really looking for that card anymore, aren't really trying to buy that card anymore for either playability or for the set. So, but there are like more modern channels that I think are better at answering those types of questions than me personally. That's like my general advice. I see like new channels coming up that really talk about like the ins and out of like flipping modern, and those are the best channels for figuring out as a collector also like when to specifically buy modern. Really the best advice is to like figure it out yourself by looking carefully, by watching the prices and by getting an instinct of like how long does it generally take. So I think it's nothing anyone can tell you can replace your own experience and instinct on what to do. Okay. But I get it's a really good important question, and I think a lot of people feel that way because I feel that way too. I love the modern cards. I'd like to buy some of them. And when's the best time to do that? So Jamie asks, what's your opinion on the future of the hobby now? It seems everything is being bought for investment rather than the love of the cards. Yeah, so I think that a lot of that the majority of the biggest noise is about that. There are still people who are buying or trading with each other who are enjoying their cards. I think for me personally, just as a collector, it's really important. Like a channel so DJ Gigabyte is a channel that many of you may not know. He's been around forever, and there are a lot of channels like this. There's like Pokemon Vintage Hunter Brothers. I really like his channel. There are a lot of channels that I watch because they don't just like talk all about the prices all the time. And it can be really annoying just to hear prices for someone who also like really enjoys the cards. And so I really like the channels that are built around Pokemon nostalgia, Pokemon love, where clearly the people are just showing their cards for the love and the enjoyment of the hobby and are trying and want to share that with people. And so I think that that there's still a lot of people like that in the hobby, and those people are going to be in it if the hobby goes way down. Like those people are just going to buy more cards. So the hobby's not going anywhere for a lot of us. I know I will always be interested in Pokemon cards and love and enjoy Pokemon cards, even if these cards go to absolute zero. I can 100% promise you they've been a huge part of my life. I really enjoy them. I'm going to be playing Pokemon and opening cards with my kids and seeing if they enjoy it and doing that for generations. And there's going to be a lot of people doing that. And because of that, the market is going to be established and is going to sustain itself to some degree. But right now I do, as I've said on this channel, and I called this out and started calling this out about 3 months ago now, when I started seeing it maybe almost 4 months ago, but I think 4 months ago, where it's just really shifted. Like the amount of money talk, and of course we talk about investing in finance on this channel, but not hyping up the cards, right? Money. When I say the money stuff, I mean like there's Pokemon's better investment than stocks. Like put all your money into Pokemon. It's going to be the next big thing. It's the new art. It's the new Mona Lisa. These types of things. like that these people coming in who have no interest in it or almost no interest in it and just want to make money or view it as a way to brand their YouTube channel or grow their YouTube channel. And it's there's clearly a lot of it right now. We'll see who's left after all of it. We'll see who's left. We'll see how many people stay. We'll see how many people enjoy it. I hope that a lot of people do. I think that, because I know how I feel about it and so many people really care about it, clearly there are, tons of people our age who enjoy it and care about it and get pleasure from it and always will, no matter what anyone else says. Because it doesn't matter at the end of the day what anyone else says if you like it. So I guess my two pieces, that's sort of my thought on like my positive, hopeful note, right? Which I think is very true. I don't even think it's hopeful. I think it's just fact. Like, we don't care. Like, if I didn't have this YouTube channel, like, I just wouldn't be on YouTube very much right now. Like, I wouldn't care about all of the hype that much. I would just be focusing on myself. I'd be enjoying my cards, and I'd be figuring out, should I sell or not to make money for myself? But because I feel like I need to almost combat some of it, I think that I express my feelings, and I combat, and I make arguments, and I try to explain all of this, which of course brings toxicity onto me, which is annoying and frustrating. But for those of you who feel like me, my advice would just be like, don't argue with people about this stuff. It's not worth it. They're not going to change their minds, generally speaking. And, if they're really angry at you and upset with you, they're probably not here because they like the cards. They're probably here because they're just looking to make money and they're annoyed that you are, frustrated with them. That sort of thing. So, that being said, there are people here who love the cards, like the cards, and are trying to make money, and it gets complicated. So, and every person is different. Everyone is an individual, and so we have to be careful. And I'm not nearly careful enough on this. When I say people think this, people think that, it's like every single person watching this is an individual, and every single person watching this, is someone who is going to have their own unique makeup as far as how much they care about the cards, how much they care about money, how much they care about the fellow Pokemon community. Are they just competing? All that stuff. Are they just here to compete, to win, to put people down, to shame people? You can't fight them all. You can't control them all. So just try to enjoy it. Try to be yourself. AC Pokemart writes, one thing these past few weeks/months have shown me is the power of demand versus supply. The rare, scarcer items such as trophy cards haven't gone up as much as things like base unlimited Charizards. Yes. So I think the key here. Oh, so then you asked a question. Do you think rare items will catch up in terms of value, or do you think that the demand side will win out in the end, or maybe they'll behave differently in different cycles of the market? Exactly, Pokemart. Different cycles of the market. So in high demand periods, demand becomes more important because there's so much demand, it can gobble it all up. And it's the point I was making before about the ladder effect, that if there isn't enough of something, it can't ladder up in price, and then more momentum and hype doesn't go around it. And so that is the absolute key. So trophy cards can't sell enough for them to go up quickly enough in price for people to then feel comfortable enough to pay that new high price versus something like evolutions. So this is to be absolutely expected. And it's why during this period I've really gone after rarity. Particularly in the beginning, I was going after first edition base. I bought a lot of first edition base cards about 3 months ago or so, right before things hyped. I bought that full first edition base set, but I was also buying raw first edition cards and other sorts of things very slowly, But the biggest purchase was that, and I bought it because I felt the hype and the momentum around that, and I thought I might flip them into the market, or I thought that they might not come down below these prices for a while because there just seemed to be so much demand and heat around it. And, I didn't expect Logan Paul to jump in and then boost it up a lot more. That was stupid and lucky, If we think about it from a financial perspective, like I didn't expect that, and that was a huge part of why it went up so much. But my theory right there is that, in this type of market, the things that were going to go up the most are those sorts of set cards. And that's what happened. So I went after that initially, and then I really have been switching over to buying like the Champions Festival, promo cards, the stamped cards that I really enjoy that have rarity, and I don't really care if anyone else likes them or if they'll ever go up in value. Honestly, I would be happy to own every single one in existence. Honestly, so there are cards like that. There are cards that there's so many cards. Art Academy card, like there are a million. Not super high-end trophy cards that there are only, less than 100 of, less than 300 of, less than 600 of, depending on the stamp, less than 30 of, depending on the stamp, or like the Art Academy cards, like less than, 100 only in the world, these sorts of things. I think, to your question here, right, will it catch up in the end? Unfortunately, what's more likely to happen is that you're going to see the retraces not in the trophy cards, but in the other cards. I'm not sure we're going to ever see or should ever see huge surges in the trophy cards. But the way we would see that is if like big influencers get involved and really make a extreme attempt to push the prices on those, like they did on the first edition base, honestly. And if you see like Logic and Logan and those guys like jump into those cards and actually ladder up a few of them, and you actually find people who have them who are willing to sell, which is very few people. First of all, very few people have any of those cards, and second, like very few people want to sell them because they love those cards and generally they're already wealthy. It's just unlikely that that you're going to see them ladder up. That being said, I hear these really high private offers for certain Pikachu illustrate for certain cards, so like these cards are also moving a lot and have gone up a lot in value too. I'm not sure if they'll ever catch up again. I think more likely, and again, this is super speculative and not like what I think is definitely going to happen, but I think more likely it's that they're just not going to retrace as much due to their rarity, and the other cards are going to retrace a lot more. It's sort of like any sort of value investing. Generally, what happens is you tend to do better in downturns and not as good in upturns. But overall, you tend to do better. It's kind of a frustrating way to invest because you don't get to fully enjoy the highs, and the lows you're still losing, just you're losing a lot less. Okay, so we're going to do another 30 minutes. So I see, I think a number of people made it over here, but not everyone, and I'm sure there was a better way for me to move the audience over here. I appreciate those who figured out how to come over here, and I'm glad this stream is working better. And I think I'll try and post both of these to my channel if they'll post, and anyone who wants to watch them can then watch them in the future and hopefully have their questions answered. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Aoshin Zhang asks, do you think Neo Series Unlimited will eventually have a price rise since it's not as overly printed as base set Unlimited? Yeah, so I don't know. I really don't know. It should, but the market's moving so erratically that like it's possible that like the hype never gets to those sets. Like the interest and the hype never gets there. It is possible that like base set just is decided now that it's so much more valuable than any of the other sets in WotC, even though I certainly don't feel that way. And I really like the Neo sets personally, and obviously the rarity numbers are there, but like subjectively it just becomes like base set becomes so much more important because of the nostalgia piece. Again, like not my experience, but but anything's possible. So I wouldn't bet on that though. I think that I would put my bet if I were a betting man. I put my bet that that there will be a correction, but will base set come down or will Neo come up? Would be the thing that you have to wonder. I think in this market, people are thinking like, what's the next thing to rise? This went up a lot. Why isn't this going up a lot? And this is going to be the next thing to go up. And it's like, well, people should also be thinking like, it's possible that thing over there, although it hasn't gone up a lot, at least it's not like primed to go way down. And maybe this thing over here is going to go way down. So, but you're definitely right, saying, and as I said earlier in the chat, Neo, there seem to be less Neo Unlimited, and certainly the pop report reflects that, but I think also they haven't been graded as much. Okay, Pokemillions asks, have you ever seen Boom Bust Boom? It is a great movie on bubbles made by the guys who made Monty Python, so it has some comedy. I'll have to watch it. Maybe that'll make me feel better and give me a good laugh. I like I always enjoyed the Big Short movie. For those of you who know that about the housing crisis, I think that was just like a well-made movie, and actually does a good job of explaining like really what happened in the housing bubble crisis and some of the warning signs. I think that I haven't seen that movie in I actually watched part of it not too long ago, but in a while. But I think but it's definitely there are definitely things on this channel that I talk about are definitely covered in that movie. All right. Sam Minuski asks, seeing the prices of cards like TrophyCon, Unicarp, FanClub, Magikarp keep rising, WotC boxes also keep skyrocketing. Are we going to see WotC products surpass these amazing Japanese cards prices? I don't know the answer to that. People are going to do what they think is best, what they want to do, right? I think that I would not put lots of money into a product that I didn't feel confident about how many were in the world. And I also would not put lots of money in a product that has gone up a huge amount in a very short amount of time. Like the only time I would do that is if I was 100% sure that product, that I like really misunderstood something about that product. So for example, let's say you miss like the beginning of Amazon, but then you realize, okay, Amazon is a company. A few months into Amazon, you realize, theoretically, like, okay, I really missed it, but now I get why Amazon is so amazing. And so I really should buy now. I should admit that I was wrong and I should buy now. And it's like, I think I understand the rarity and scarcity of these boxes, and I already priced that in to how I was feeling about things. And I, obviously was buying a lot of them at those earlier prices, not the booster boxes, but the PSA cards, which of course have corresponding value to the booster boxes, because that's just what I like to collect. But yeah, I don't, because I don't know how many are in the world, because I don't I don't feel like the growth rate is very like stable and rational and makes a lot of sense. I would never under any circumstance buy one of those booster boxes. Unless I had a huge amount of money and money meant nothing to me. Now that doesn't mean that they won't keep going up. It's just something that I personally would never do. And I think for people out there who don't understand that and think it's like the most sure thing in the world, that's what I have a problem with. Is just like the mindset of that mindset is so alien to me right now and to my investing style. Okay. Radazor asks, do you think the potential for PSA pop increase in Japanese vintage is much higher than English? Talking base, jungle, fossil, neo, since the printing was higher quality for one. Do you think the potential for PSA? Yeah, so like someone like Gary, I believe, is going to be sending in lots of Japanese vintage. I think a lot of people have a lot of really high quality Japanese vintage. I know, interestingly too, the cards I had from childhood, a lot of the Japanese ones really lasted a lot better, really managed to stay in even better condition over the years. So not only is it opening from pack type of thing, but because of the, as a lot of us know, the color on the back, they just don't wear as visibly. I think that I would be worried. I'd be more worried that I think the English side is much more filled out in the pop report than the Japanese side. Also remember that there's a lot more of these Japanese cards because you get a holo from every pack outside of base set. And they're easier to grade, and they weren't graded a lot because they'd never had the value, and people like Gary have tons of them. So just be careful with them. I know I just sent in a bunch to get graded that I think are all 10s or like very close to 10s, including like a base set Charizard Japanese, which I know is going for an insane amount of money right now. And I got that card, for like $2 in a big set, I averaged it, the price, and it's like that was the type, like that's how quickly this has changed. This whole market has changed. And I just don't think people are aware of that who are paying $30,000. I think it'd be really hard, and maybe it isn't going for that much. I forget exactly how much it's going for. That might be the unlimited right now. I don't even know. keeping my numbers straight. I'm getting tired over here. But it's going for a lot. Okay. Brendan Morrow asked, do you have any advice for searching eBay for cards? I found an increasing number of listings are titled incorrectly. I don't really. Yeah, I just like, I find that too sometimes, and when I realize that, I figure out different ways to search for cards that I look for. So for example, I love those Champions Festival cards, so I'm always searching for them, but I put in Champions Festival, and a lot of the times it doesn't capture everything, so I'll also throw in like top 16 or finalist, like specific aspects of the card that I'm looking for. So I would recommend trying that. You know, like if you're looking for a specific card, you should try to put in the set. You should try to you could put in the number of the card. You could put in like any identifying features of the card, the type of Pokemon. But yeah, I'm not. All right. Gus is saying, yeah, he's not a fan of the Unicarp. People are saying that it's running really, really good, really smooth now. That's awesome. I'm glad you guys can hear me. And Gus says, yeah, no offense to anyone who likes it. Yeah, I feel the exact same way, Gus. Yeah, like, I mean, I love that people love that card. It doesn't bother me at all. I just think that, I just hope that people aren't buying it because it's a trophy card and other people talked it up and it's always kind of sold more, and that people are understand the data behind that card, know that it has another printing and are buying it with all that knowledge. Then like, of course, buy it. Bacon Hex asks, Jake, does it annoy you that Pratt and his goons operate a shady cartel? Okay. I don't know. I'm not gonna talk about answered that question. Team Trebush, what are your collection goals as of late? Or specific cards you are picking up? What am I doing right now? I'm like buying basically nothing right now at all. I was looking into selling some parts of my collection even, as I talked about in my last video. I'm just kind of getting feelers, seeing what people are willing to pay for certain things. I don't want to just sell it out on the open market completely because I just don't want to get scammed, honestly, and I have a lot of valuable cards, so I want to, like, I would only sell it to certain people who I really liked and enjoyed and who wanted specific cards. I'm not really looking to get like top dollar on everything, and I also might just not sell everything. I'm kind of weighing my options and seeing who wants things, what people are offering. But I bring that up because I'm not really actively picking up things. I'm always on the look for, I have certain collection goals. Like I want to complete every from the first 2 generations of Pokemon. I want to get every first appearance card in like a high grade. I was trying to get them all in 10. Now I'm fine getting them all in like 9 or 8 even. So that includes the holos, but all of like the commons and rares, from like, there's some in Neo Discovery, but mainly they're in like Neo Genesis, and then like Fossil Jungle and base set. So I try to pick those up when I see them at good value, but again, I was getting those for like $12 to $20. Then they went up to $30. Then they went up to $40. Now they're all going for like $130, $150, $160. And luckily I bought like a bunch of doubles because I thought that they might go up a lot. So I bought doubles thinking I would then trade my doubles to other people to complete it in case I couldn't like get all of them, if that makes sense. Or I would sell them and then buy the other ones I needed. So I'm glad I did that. Because I always had that. I always felt that. Like right when I got in the hobby, I was like, first appearance is an underrated thing. And I still think first appearance is underrated right now, even though it's getting more popular. The problem with those cards, right, is there may be a lot of them, and the supply might hurt the value, particularly on the ones that are going for $1,000, like an uncommon going for over $1,000. It's a lot, even for as beautiful a card as like that Eevee. Okay, so we're gonna do about 20 or so more minutes. Jeffrey Brennan asks, and then Team Troubish, you also asked, like, what are my, like, overall collection goals? So that's one of the main ones. Trying to always buy those stamped cards. What else are my specific collection goals? Everything else is just too expensive for me at the moment. I don't feel comfortable buying it. So I think like Neo, like if I see Neos that are a little like, I think that Neo still has some potential value. So and E series sometimes. So there are certain like, I do watch some cards in auction, and then they tend to just go like a little bit out of what I'm willing to pay instead of like double what I'm willing to pay, which is a lot of things right now, or triple or quadruple what I'd want to pay. So for me, it's sort of like I just reassess. I just reassess my collection goals. Jeffrey Brennan asks, can you discuss what impact an economic stimulus package, 1,200 and 600 a week for unemployment, has had on Pokemon prices since the money is free? I think it's less likely for people to panic sell. Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea. I think the problem with that, right, is that like if people don't have jobs and lots of people get fired and companies don't get restarted and the economy goes into a recession, like the $600 or $1,200 it doesn't mean very much. And I think a lot of people, I hope people were not spending money on Pokemon that they needed for life stuff, for living stuff. And I'm sure people did. It's a big world out there, and I'm not trying to shame anyone or make anyone feel bad. I guess my advice to those people would be like, you just think really, really carefully about what you're doing. And yeah, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't really get into that too much, but I covered all of that stuff. Like if you want to go back to my very first video where I covered my feelings on that, it was sort of a perfect storm. The start of all of this. So first of all, Pokemon was already growing quite a bit before any of the stimulus, because and that was like feeling really good and feeling really natural. And it was like people were discovering their collections and getting back into Pokemon, and it felt great for the hobby, and the prices felt like they were growing and that they were way overdue to grow to me. Felt super healthy. Everyone was talking about how much they loved the cards. Everyone was super excited about buying the cards, not because they were going to make a lot of money on the cards, but because they really enjoyed the cards. That was the majority of the vibe, right? Then that vibe switched, over time and shifted. And there's still quite a bit of that vibe, but there are different people in the hobby right now doing different things. And so I think that the stimulus money was one of the factors that allowed people to maybe overspend or start getting into it. And I think what I would imagine is they bought into it and then they ended up making a lot of money, which maybe gave them an overinflated sense of the market or what the market was always going to do. And, these things have a habit of steamrolling. It's like once a few people get into something, it raises the prices, which brings more attention into it, which brings more money, which then and then more money follows that money. And everyone just keeps pointing to the prices as proof that you should keep putting more money in. And I think that the $1,200 to $600 did have a really, really strong. I think it's very likely and pretty common sense to say that it had a pretty big impact on lighting that fuse or pushing it more than it would have been. Obviously people staying inside and being inside all the time and shopping online all the time were big parts of it too. All online shopping has gone up a huge amount during this period. Okay. Chris Lowenthal asks, thoughts on Japanese E-Series starters, Mysterious Mountain, Split Earth Era. Yeah, so I was buying PSA 10s from those sets for like $10 to $20. I was the only one buying them in auction. I would just like put like $25. I'd buy every single one of them. I have a bunch of them. They're easy to grade, but like they're not that common. They're and they have the exact same art as the E-Series, which I think have amazing art. They're great cards. They were extremely undervalued before. Way more undervalued than a lot of other things, honestly. People were just throwing them away. More will get graded, but again, I just don't think there are that. I just don't think those sets were printed that much, even in Japanese. I don't see those boxes that much. But that's all I can say about those. I don't even know what I guess I know a little about what they're going for. I was watching like the Expedition ones recently, and they've really moved up in price like everything else, but there's still some of them are not going for that much. I would feel more comfortable spending $100 on that than like $1,000 on an English, for example, if it was the exact same card. For me, the value, and not because I'm necessarily trying to make money, but it's the same art. It's it's really cool. Like, you know, and I like the Japanese look. So. All right. Joe Cartwright asked, "Do you like the CD promos?" Yeah, I do. I've always really liked them. You know, they're very common. They're pretty common. They're pretty easy to find. They generally graded pretty well. You could find them, you know, sealed still. I believe those have moved up quite a bit in value. I don't know the prices on them specifically. I checked a little bit ago. I own a few, I think, of the Charizard, a few of the Blastoise, a few of the Venusaur. I really like the Snorlax a lot. Actually, I really like the art on the Snorlax. I like the Porygon too. Yeah, they're really good looking, cool cards. You know, there are a lot of them though, so that's what you have to keep in mind. But they're really old and they're really vintage and they're really cool looking. So if Pokemon gets hot, you know, there won't be enough of them to go around, potentially, which is why they might still, you know, go up in value. Because I do think like most collectors are gonna want those. So Pokemon Hall is adding something to his question. He says the booster packs are transparent from Plasma Freeze. Ever heard of that? I haven't. Sorry, I can't give you the I don't have information on those packs. Radazur asks, he's having a conversation about what cartels are. He's making some claims about Scott. People can read that for themselves. Yeah, I don't know if any of that's true. I'm not, you know, I don't know one way or another. As I've said on this channel, like, you know, you gotta judge other people based on the way they talk, based on their actions, and it can be hard online to know what people's true intentions are. I think that people who run Pokemon businesses have an incentive to make money, and they have to be very ethical people to not manipulate the market. And it's kind of up to you to figure out who you trust and how much you trust people. I think that's just common sense. It's not. I'm not trying to throw shade on anyone. And you can think that I'm trying to manipulate, right? And some guy in the comments attacked me that I was trying to manipulate or do something. You know, basically saying that I do the same thing as other people, which is that's not true. But you know, you don't know me, so you're just looking through the screen. So everyone's going to have their own opinion on everyone. The best thing you can do is just watch people's actions, listen to them over time. Don't jump in too quick to listen to anyone just because they have a big following, and that includes me, right? Don't jump because I just have like you know, I know I have a small channel, but you know, it's not nothing, and some people may think I know more than I'm talking about, you know, so it's the same idea. You really have to listen to arguments, be patient, grow your own knowledge. Anyone who pretends that they know everything or that they don't make mistakes is selling you a bunch of BS in life, okay? Life's confusing. Life's hard. This market's confusing and difficult. And, you know, I apologize in my last video in part because I need to do a better job too of like not getting defensive or getting my ego too in it and just kind of really speaking to what I can understand and what I can know. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do on this platform, particularly if you want to get your channel big, because just to be honest, like, big channels, they tend to be fueled by, you know, telling people what they want to hear, and then particularly by making people money. And my channel has been more geared on trying to protect people from making bad decisions and calling out what I view as like scamming, manipulation, and these sorts of things. And it's not as easily provable, and it's not as easily like I can take this information and go use it to like make money today. And I get that, you know. I just think you have to be really careful taking any, like, all these people who have Pokemon businesses coming on trying to teach you how to make money in Pokemon. I just think that you should be, like, just because they smile and they seem nice, just be careful. And I know that's a bit of a downer note and a suspicious thing, but it's the truth. I don't want you to get hurt, particularly if you're not, like, super well off. Okay. Um, so James asks, just started collecting vintage Pokemon stamps. Do you own any? Any thoughts? I don't. That's interesting. That'd be cool to see some of those, James. I don't know if you have a channel. I'll probably check out to see if you have a channel after this. Maybe you can show us some of them. I don't know specifically the Pokemon stamps. There's so many cool Pokemon things. I like going on to E4 and looking, like, there are people who have like pin collections and different types of non-Pokemon collections too that I really enjoy looking at. There's so much cool Pokemon art that is not just on the cards. So unfortunately, I don't know them specifically. But yeah, keep it up. I'm glad you're doing what you love and what you enjoy. Highly Blessed asked Dark Magician Girl question mark. It's okay, Jake. We won't judge you. I'm not sure what exactly you're asking there. Yeah. I did not have a crush on Dark. If you're replying, yeah, I don't know. Like when I was a kid, how did I feel about Dark Magician Girl? I don't think I really liked Dark Magician Girl that much. I'm trying to remember the Dark Magician Girl episodes and like how much she was in the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Gosh. And I know that like Yu-Gi-Oh would combine Dark Magician Girl, I think, with Dark Magician sometimes. I loved like the combination magicians the best because they were always like really like sagey and old and all powerful. Those are my favorite. Cesar Acosta says, "Where do you see the market going?" That's a little bit too broad for me. And I think I've sort of answered it. I appreciate the question though. It's just sort of like I really don't know. I think rather than predicting where the market's going to go in 6 months, a year, whatever, the best thing you can do. I get really irritated by people making videos, and some of the people I really like, some people I love make videos like this. They say, this is going to be the next thing to go up. This is going to be the thing that's going to double. This is and it's like there's just never any. There's so little like information in those videos and facts to back up what they're saying. Like it drives me crazy. It's like this box is like gonna double in this year. It's like because everything continues to double, you think it's gonna double? Well, of course it could double, but like it could also have. Like it's really weird. It's really weird that people are making videos like this, and it's really weird that people like those videos and follow them. I think that's when I get really angry and irritated. I think part of it comes from that, as like people are not giving nuanced. Yeah, all right. I'll get off my high horse there. I'm not going to get into that. I've said that stuff enough. All right. Nostalgia Oldbird asks, do you think the price of Jungle First Edition Pikachu PSA 10 would fall? If so, when? Yeah, I think it's going to depend on the stuff we've talked about, which is like the stuff I talked about with Joe, which is like how many are going to come out, how many are going to be in the pop, and the overall state of the market. I think it's a very risky card. I think people are overestimating that card. It's not the first Pikachu. Again, I think that first appearance of Pokemon matters. I know it doesn't really right now so much in the market. I think it's going to matter in the future. And I know clearly to some extent it does because you see how expensive those first edition base Pikachus are. But I think part of the reason why people are paying a decent amount for the Jungle one is because people are paying so much for the first edition base one. And I just like, for me, there are like a lot of cool Pikachus from WotC in a lot of those sets. So I think what makes the first edition base one so great is that it's first appearance. I think what makes the Eevee really good from Jungle is that it's first appearance. I don't feel the same about that Pikachu. But again, other people, there are people who really like that art and other people feel differently. I don't know. But again, I think all of that is worth saying and adds risk. Oh, Sean Kahn asked, in your live stream you mentioned sales went down in August, but prices didn't. How do you come to this conclusion? Okay, so PokemonPrice.com tracks that data. But I also tracked it on certain specific cards that I was looking at to see how many of those cards came up on auction, to see how many of them sold, and see how many of them came up and sold on eBay. Because I like tracking it for certain cards I'm looking for, but then also the PokemonPrice.com tracks it for the entire market, the volume of sales, and the price that those go for. How accurate PokemonPrice.com is, I'm not sure. You have to sort of take it with not a grain of salt, because it is good, useful information, but you have to be careful because there are, PokemonPrice.com will take shill bids. It won't take other prices that are real. So you just have to keep that in mind when you're using it. Um, Jeremy Judkins asks, how do you see amazing rares holding up, especially if they make more in future sets? Um, I don't really know. I like them. I don't invest in modern. I collect it because I like it and it's fun and I like opening it. I think modern's far, far, far too risky to really feel strongly in. I think that at least the amazing rares like do look really cool and are pretty unique. I think if they make more of them in future sets, I think what they're likely going to do, because this is what they've done in the past, is I think there's a pretty decent chance that they will make more of them within the Sword and Shield era in the second half, and then once they switch out of that era, they'll stop making them. That would be what I would guess they would do, but they may not. They may not make more. They may make more into the next era. You know, Pokemon can do anything they want. I think them making some more, but not a ton more, will be good because it'll create a little bit more of a thing that it's fun to collect, like all of them. I think the issue is going to be pull rate, part of it. They seem like they're probably going to be two. I've heard people throw out numbers like 2 per box. Whether it's 1 per box or 2 per box, I don't think it's going to be none per box. And so they're not going to be like that difficult to pull. We're going to have to see how they grade, how difficult they are to grade. So if they are very difficult to pull, if they are very difficult to grade, they could have some value. There's also no Charizard. To be honest, sets that don't have a Charizard just don't do as well. You know, you really need a Charizard, in particularly right now in Modern, or you need like a Lugia. I know that at least it has a bunch of like cool legendary Pokemon. I really like it. I'll be going after it. Probably, I think a number of other people will be going after it. I'm not sure about the long-term value though. I think the short term it's going to be pretty hot. You know, I like Vivid Voltage. Much better than Darkness Ablaze, for example. I think it's much more interesting. I like the amazing rares, and I like Pikachu, and I think it's cool that they actually put Pikachu on the box. Okay, so we're sort of at 9 o'clock here. And I do, unfortunately, need to run. I ended up doing the full 2 hours for you guys. I know there are a lot more questions here. I think we're gonna have to get to them towards the end. I'm gonna jump to the end here. Okay, so Alex Henry asks, I will answer this question. Why do you think Modern is uninvestable when literally every single box, including Steam Sheets and Crimson Invasion, have gone up in value? Okay. So we have to figure out what we mean by investable. So it's uninvestable for me, is what I always say. Because I like to hold things that I think are always going to go up in value, are always going to be liked a lot, and have limited downside risk. When I think of Modern, what has happened recently with Modern is unprecedented in Pokemon. Okay? Like the explosion of sets that have not moved for many years is not normal and doesn't really make a lot of sense and is really based on like a lot of the value in the Modern sets right now is based on perceived value. Like the sets are already going for what they hopefully should be going for in 10 years or 5 to 10 years. And that's because there are a lot of people buying them thinking that like they should get 10 times growth on Modern boxes within like a year or like 2 years or 3 years. And so people start buying them. Then they point to the prices that they're smart, that they made a good decision. Then other people buy them. And, you know, there are massive amounts. There's so much of this, Alex. Like people are holding massive, massive amounts of this product just sitting in their rooms. Just people who have never sold anything before are sitting on it. And then businesses have tons and tons of it. It's so much more than anything vintage. And there's no reason to be confident that kids will ever want these packs. A lot of the mania and the interest in these packs is not from kids, it's from adults right now. And with you know, Now, is it possible that like these sets are going to go up in value in the future? Sure. You know, I think if we look at Magic, Magic has done pretty well. Like most sets certainly go up in value over time. Not all sets. Some sets stay, you know, about at the same value. But, you know, when you see sets that don't move for years, that in a matter of a few months quadruple or go up 5 times in price all at once, that is not growth. Like that's not healthy. That's not like all of a sudden. That is manipulation and speculation. And like I would love to hear an explanation from someone who's very into sort of like evolutions as a good investment. I want to hear their explanation for why the box went up 5 times that doesn't include extreme market manipulation and people all trying to make money and people looking at just profits and just it going up as proof that it's a good buy. You know, or that people are going to collect this in 20 years and so they're already pricing that into their heads. Like that's what's going on. Now, what I would say, Alex, is like if you feel that certainly kids are going to like this stuff in 20 years and going to want this 100%. Like obviously that's common sense. 2, like they're going to specifically love evolution. So they're going to specifically love like a couple of these sets, or they're going to love all of them or something somehow. I don't know how they're going to love all of them, but, and somehow they're going to have the money to pay for both those and also maybe the vintage that they also might like, or they're not going to like the vintage, they're only going to like that, and yet they're going to have enough money to pay thousands of dollars for booster boxes that like thousands and thousands of adults just kept tons of it in their rooms. Like I just don't see it. And again, it's possible. Like anything is possible. Now, in terms of flipping on this channel, I've told people, hey, if people are going to act like this and you need to make money, flip modern right now. Like buy it at retail and flip and flip and flip. Buy low, sell high, and keep flipping. You know, Team Trubber says it makes a hell of a flip at the moment. It's like, yeah. It's like, but again, you know, I think it's when I talk about investing, I really mean like long-term holding, seeing these prices slowly and steadily go up over time, not move all over the place. You know, I recently saw Rudy made a video on evolution saying that he thinks evolutions are like, isn't going to go back down and that it's at a good price and these sorts of things. And I really disagreed with his logic. Like his logic is basically like, people have clearly behaved irrationally, but now that they've behaved irrationally, there's no going back. And I also hear people make that argument, and it's interesting. I mean, it is possible that like people got sort of manipulated and pushed into buying all of this stuff, and now they're just not going to sell, and so the price is going to hold. But I don't think that is what happens in markets from my experience in markets. I think that as soon as prices go down, people panic and start to sell, particularly people who need the money. So, you know, I think when we talk about investments, we want things that are going to be slow and steady growers. I don't want my set to quadruple every year and then go down in half the next year and just like up and down and all over the place. That doesn't make any sense. People are buying it out of speculation on future profits, not on slow, steady growth. So, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear what you think of that, Alex. I mean, it's not. I'm not sure exactly what you're arguing exactly. You know, I don't know if you're in the camp of, because one thing I've heard, Alex. So he says, thanks for the answer. Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, one thing I've heard, right, is that it took WotC 20 years to become really valuable. It's going to take these sets 20 years to become really valuable also. That's a fundamental misunderstanding of what happened. WotC wasn't valuable forever because Pokemon wasn't valuable. No one was interested in it. And then 20 years later, the way that hobbies like this work is they're not linear. They don't grow steady over time. They're cyclical. And they have these big events. And a bunch of people tend to pour into the hobby, particularly when it's not an established market, which this is not. And so what happens is like a bunch of people came in and the prices became valuable all of a sudden. Okay. But the thing is that there's not enough supply of the vintage for it to, for the sort of selling ladder to occur, like the ladder occurred on the modern, like the ladder could occur on the modern. But yeah, people are also asking about like vintage, like people are saying that yes, Evolution's boxes are crazy, but like what about the base set booster box for 20K? It's like, I would never, under any circumstance, have bought a booster box for $20,000. Like, I think it's a really, really risky investment. That being said, that box could be worth over $100,000. Why not? Like, anything in this market seems possible right now. But when things seem that way, that is a red flag. That's a danger, because it means that even that some people like me who understand these products like pretty well, and there are people who understand them better, right, can't really assess value anymore, because the value has gotten crazy, because the value is all over the place, because things are moving so much that there's no stability and sense of what these things should actually be worth. And I think that when that happens, it creates a lot of instability and potential risk. So I hope that makes sense. I think I probably got like a B on that answer. I'd give myself maybe even just like a C plus. But let's see what people are saying. Some guy's trying to get people to leave my chat and go on his. Interesting. Okay. So I think we're gonna end this for tonight. At the end of the day, the truth is like, this is my first experience. Like, I've been involved in a number of markets in my life. My dad has been a collector of things all of his life. I've watched him do that. I, been investing in things and dealing with things my whole life. But this is there's a lot of things about this that are new. And like, the last thing I would want to do is give harmful thoughts or opinions to people, and say things that I didn't feel very confident on. So at the end of the day, it's sort of like, if you really believe that, people are going to want these things in a few years, and that and people aren't storing it, and you feel really confident, it's like, buy it. I would just be careful. Okay. And I'd be really careful too of, I saw those evolution charts that's going for like $6,000, almost $7,000, and those easily might be shill bid, right? Because they didn't move very much at the end or at all. But it's just so much money for something that's so brand new, and I think people are paying for a perceived future of these cards, that rather than paying for what they presently should be worth, or are aware of the risks. So I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you all so much for joining, for staying. I apologize that the earlier stream didn't work. I see that a number of you made it here, and that's really great. And I will talk to all of you guys again next week. All right, take care.